It's really
Well, we can make it that.
Wow. No. She'll get on the band or the the trip is a part of the band, and then but it'll resolve.
Yeah, she got a report card back. Okay, that's fine.
And I had.
Okay. I think I got half a computer. Okay. Nope, I think we're good.
At the end of the day, I just meant Get me for everything.
Right. Okay, we'll call the school board meeting for June 1st to order. It was verified, the meeting posting by the Wisconsin State meeting laws. And Lisa, would you like to?
I would love to lead us in the pledge.
Thank you.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Consent agenda.
So moved.
You have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Anybody interested in pulling anything? Any questions? Okay. All those in favor of approving the consent agendas signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Consent agenda is approved. Superintendent's report. Dr. Thompson.
Good evening, and thank you for the time, and welcome guests and students. We have 4 items that we'd like to go through. The first is the technology update for the district, and Tony Spence, our Chief Information Officer, is here to provide us with some updates.
Multitask. Hi everyone, I'm Tony Spence, Chief Information Officer for the Muskegon Norway Schools. Hopefully you know that already, so I'm announcing. I'm going to give you an update on our 2015 update for what's happening in and around technology. I will say this, if I were to try to give you all the defined information, I would put you all to sleep, and therefore this meeting would run over. So I've tried to be succinct, and as a result, I'm going to start right away. This presentation is broken up into about 3 initiatives. And these initiatives go back to 2013. In 2013, the board had approved the initiative which would become the one-to-one Chromebook initiative that started at grades 5th and 9th and then continued. So by next year, we'll be all students 5 through 12. This is a breakdown of what needs to happen within that to support the processes. Google Apps for Education. This is a huge centerpiece to what we do. Not only is it the operating system on our devices, Chrome OS, it is also our productivity tools, collaborative tools, essentially for our kids and for our faculty. Leveraging Google. This is a big part. If you notice, Gmail storage. We have 726 gigs of data by our staff and students alone currently within the system. This has been around for roughly a year and a half. So that's pretty good. Our Google Drive, 895 gigs, and photo storage, 38. Seemingly not as irrelevant. 1.659 gigs, that's about 1.7 terabytes of data. There. Probably won't hear me, I'll try. I'm going to multitask like this. The one thing is this data is not on our own network. This is in the cloud. That means we're not having to replace servers. That means we're not having to actually pay for systems across the district to be heated, cooled, backed up, etc. Although we do use one piece in Google, it's called Google Vault, and it stores all of our email for students and staff for an unlimited amount of time, and also stores our data. So we can recall data. If a student or a staff member were to erroneously delete something, we can go back in the system and pull it back. So it's all within that. We don't have those direct options without Google Vault, and that is something that became free as of 6 months ago. So it's actually a pay-for service, and now it's at no cost to Google for Education. Another part, as of last year, all users had roughly 30 gigabytes of space as a maximum within Google. Now it's unlimited. They do have one caveat. The largest single file can be 5 terabytes, but that's just one file. So it's a very significant amount of data. Just to give you an idea, 5 terabytes is roughly the total amount of data in the entire district right now. And that's the limit for one file size in Google. Believe it or not, email is still relevant. We've always tried to shake it. Talked about other sources like, well, social media would take over. As of May 26th, when I took the data, 1,225,331 emails written in the system. That's just for our staff and students. That's a lot of time on productivity, but once again, something we're not putting on our own servers. Doc creations. If you notice, we have over 500, almost 500 users that have already created 100 plus docs. That's once again a testament to not only is the utilities there, people are using them. In fact, obviously a large portion of our users are in that 1 to 5. Next part is the actual rollout of the device. These are our breakdown of the numbers of what we're rolling out. These do include loaners and other service devices. Notice our peak in 2014-15, when for the first time we did 5th and 7th grade incoming, as well as 9th and 11th grade. This year coming in, we only have 9th and 5th grades. We are getting a new device, by the way, and we have used our BMIT Center, Business, Marketing, and Information Technology, which has been a great resource for the district, a great opportunity for students to learn. But more than anything, I've got a little stat for you that shows how many broken screens we've had. It's a pretty high number, but I've got a breakdown of that too. These are the percentages of damages for each school. Now, that number has fluctuated slightly, but it's been pretty close. It's a little bit above what we anticipated, but we do have a self-insurance process, and we also have our BMIT students, which is a student and staff-run center at the high school, providing all the repairs for the devices across the district, which is an excellent model, and we'll be continuing that model for next year. I took this picture today, and this is updated daily. 542 customers served in the BMIT Center, which is very impressive. We did not have that last year. So the question is, where do those students go? A lot of it was through the libraries, but in this case, all of it's being channeled through BMIT. Screens replaced. Screens are average cost of about $50 a piece. Yeah, that gets expensive. But the students are able to drop these devices off. They get a loaner. The device is usually fixed that day, if not within the hour. and the students can pick them up by the end of the day, if not by the next morning. So we have quick turnaround, so that 100% of students have access all the time. I want to mention the two other pieces that aren't directly related to my department, but worth noting. They're using Android tablets to create apps. 74 of them created and growing. In our Google Ninja program, students learn and get different belts until they become master ninjas. Then we can start sending them throughout the district to help other people. So a great process, not just internally, but externally as well. Of course, when you add devices, you have to make sure the network is where it needs to be. Thankfully, the board had approved network upgrade. As we talk about what's happening, we look at the speed of our bandwidth from year to year, and it's a pretty big jump. This 1 gig jump happened just over spring break. So we're already using half of that capacity, and we've only updated for a month and a half. Other infrastructure upgrades, again, the network switching project. We have additional wireless coming in. More devices means more coverage. I have to give a shout out to a local company. One of their individuals, I'll just give her first name is Lisa, is a resident of Muskego. We had some testing going on at the high school. She was here at 7 a.m. to help us with any wireless issues that were happening. It's nice to have partnerships. Also nice to have people that are local in the community helping us out. The next step is also to evaluate the feasibility of a fiber optic wide area network. Demands for the network are increasing. Right now we lease this, and those costs are pretty high. Our goal is at some point that we can light up our district with fiber strands between all buildings, and of course to connect to other districts as well. We have a new website coming, which is very exciting. The scary part is that I'm actually part of that, so we'll see how it turns out. We sent a survey out to the community, and we found out that people really were interested in what the new website looks like. We have 474 exactly, 474 respondents on the survey, 54 pages of narrative text. Pretty awesome. So we asked people to look at some specific websites and give us feedback as to what they thought. And you're going to be fascinated by what we found. We used Wordle to word map all of the text that came in from these surveys. And what you'll start to notice is the bigger the word, the more often it was featured. Things like easy, information, navigation, pictures. These popped up on a regular basis. What does that tell you? It was consistent all the way across the board. People had very similar demands regardless of what site they were looking at. We also found that people had a very high interest in the calendars, making sure that they can connect to those calendars and also that they're always up to date and feature what's happening across the district. We did a survey for staff and students. It was called Bright Bites. This is a big survey, has a lot of data. When asked if teachers believed whether or not technology integration would increase student learning, 96% agreed or strongly agreed. The next bar over to the right, notice that there's a 56 and a 59. That is the state average. So we're very close to the state average. And what you notice is nearly all of our staff, let's just say it's very close to 100%, believe that. And that's a big part of it. Our students aren't far behind. All these devices, what we don't want to have is the picture on the right. For those of you in the back, there's a person watching a baseball game while someone's teaching at the front. Hopefully none of you have been doing that. It is baseball season. On the side, we have a collaborative learning environment. To be honest, 21st century learning can be overused. I think we know what it means, but we're looking for the 4 C's. In most cases, really that boils down to collaboration. That's the type of groups we're looking for on the left. The easy part is putting the hardware into the classrooms. The difficult part is making sure that it's used well, particularly by our students. This summer, we've got some great opportunities. We're going to be doing the Amazing Race, but we're really calling it the Amazing Adventure. We've now adapted a new tool called Synergize, which is actually a tutorial that lays over the top of anything you're working on and gives you active tutorials while you're working on it, therefore giving new resources to staff. And of course, we always have ongoing trainings that align with district needs. This summer will be big trainings, but more importantly, it's what we do after the school year starts to make sure we're giving the help to everyone that needs it. Another question. I want to learn more about effective technology use for teaching and learning. 84% of the teachers want to learn more. 84. Again, another very large number. We have to make sure that what we're doing in IT, in our tech integration and library teams, is getting that information to our staff so they're ready to use it. Something I'm going to end with. We've had the opportunity to work with the Studer Group, and they've been very helpful to us. They've allowed us to communicate with our staff really well. When the staff did our employee engagement for the IT department, it was a 4.47. Our goal for the district was by the end of this year to be at a 3.94 for an overall median. So our IT is doing really well in terms of how we're engaging our employees and their satisfaction levels. I would not have these scores if it weren't for the rounding process that we have in place. We round on a regular basis so that we connect with our employees, so they know that we are concerned about their welfare, and they have an opportunity on a regular basis to communicate with us. I said I would be succinct. That was my goal. Any questions? And if not, that's okay.
I've got one.
Chris, shoot.
Tony, on your employee engagement,
Yes.
just employees, it's not parents or...
This one is not.
Okay,
No,
that's a separate one I think we have, right?
it is correct. That is another.
Yeah, no, I think those numbers are great.
They're good.
Really good. If you could also just upload when you have a chance.
I'll put it in PDF, and then I'll drop it in there. Yep.
When will the new website be up and running?
It'll be this summer. So we signed the contract about a week and a half ago, and so they start drafting. And actually, if you can believe it, I actually started to cut out some butcher paper and paste and glue different aspects that I want on it, which I know sounds very primitive, but this is a nice way for them to get an overall layout of the design. Plus, we'll use a lot of our other websites that we used as kind of that benchmark to help us with the design as well. We actually had about 35 people that said they wanted to be included in the drafting process in terms of being informed as it proceeds. So it'll be a summer project.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, everyone.
Appreciate the update. Okay, we'll go with the item goal.
Oh. That's
Perfect.
okay.
And the clicker.
You need a microphone? Okay.
Okay, the next superintendent report item is an update on the 14-15 KPO and board goals. Our last bi-weekly that went out to staff and board about 2 weeks ago had this review of the key performance objectives. This is just a, be much more brief, but then it also includes the board goals. So this is our, if it's going to start for me. Not so much. All right. Yep. Okay, so this is our continuous improvement journey. Every single step helps us move closer to our mission and vision of being the district of choice and every student learning, growing, and succeeding. So we have long-term commitments. I mentioned these last week. Our mission, our vision, our beacons, those values that we have, our core competencies, those are the adult behaviors that we really make sure that we're focused in on so that we have an impact on our student goals. And then we also have focus areas for each year. So our key performance objectives off to the left, I'll go through each one of those four, are aligned to those adult behaviors or core competencies. And again, they are, we are identifying those as high leverage practices that will impact our student goals. All of our student data has not been in yet, so we're not going to go through those individual goals. That will be to come. We'll get you that information closer to September. So the first key performance objective is to increase reading achievement and growth. And so some of the activities that we put forward this year that we are engaged in order to impact that was that all of our professional development during our summer institute had a reading focus. Our professional development embedded in our school year. The days that the students aren't in school, but the teachers are, those were also focused on our reading. School and student learning objectives. It's part of our statewide educator effectiveness plans, and so they require schools and teachers to have learning objectives identified, and all of those were also focused on reading. So we are very much aligned in our system. We also had units of study revised and implemented this year. Assessments were developed to measure progress toward reading achievement goals and benchmarks. Our coaching model was enhanced this year quite a bit, and it really was supporting not only reading intervention instruction, but also supporting our teachers in their instructional practices, working right alongside teachers either in co-teaching or modeling, different things like that. At the high school, middle school, in areas where teachers don't teach necessarily English or reading, there's disciplinary literacy focus. How do you focus on the instruction of reading if you're a Phi-Ed teacher or a social studies teacher? So that also was a big component of our plan. Data walls for special education, a focus on data and reading achievement for students who have individual education plans. And then also Abbott was rolled out this year, freshman and sophomore. And the focus on WICR, which is the Reading Inquiry Collaboration Organization, and reading. I think I said writing first. Key performance objective number 2. This aligns with our highly effective personnel core competency, and it's to integrate staff effectiveness models to enhance proficiency across our system. And so what's important is that we in fact understand that we need to make sure that we're clear with our staff across our system, not just teachers, but our principals, our custodians, what good looks like. And so we made sure to have proficiency models for teachers, or educator effectiveness, for principals, our support staff evaluation tools, all implemented this year. We will be implementing the central office performance evaluation and the district administrative performance evaluation coming up this summer and fall for those folks. So all of them. And then to provide feedback ongoing, meeting multiple times, providing opportunities for observation, all of those. Key performance objective number 3, aligned to continuous improvement, relates to personalized learning and making sure that we're maximizing students' potential to being college and career ready. And Tony mentioned a number of these things, but we did have an uncommittee through CISA 1 this year, and we had a number of individuals learning and growing across our system with other districts across the area, southeastern Wisconsin, about what types of personalized learning are beneficial and really tie into that 21st learning, the collaboration, project-based, those types of things, similar to what we're doing in our middle schools with Project I. And so we have a number of programs or some plans for next year that we'll be rolling out across our K-8 group. Do we have any at the high school, Tony? I don't recall.
We have 1 participant from the high school.
Okay.
Yep.
And then the one-to-one Chromebooks and technology that Tony mentioned also. And then we have our key performance objective related to our sound stewardship, and it's to deploy innovative solutions to wellness, compensation, and facilities. And some of the activities that we were involved in, making sure that we connected with, was wellness. We had employee programs, we had newsletters, we had that guy nurse come in at the end of the school year. It really kicked off the wellness program for us. We've investigated and we're on our way to implementing an on-site clinic, and we've made some substantial changes to our health insurance program, and that really is to really encourage our staff to be good consumers of our insurance, and that's part of wellness. Compensation models also fall under here. We'll be implementing fully our teacher compensation model that took about 3 years to design, and it'll be fully implemented next year. We have a support staff model that is currently being worked on with a core group, and that will also be rolled out likely by next July. Okay, so a full year of study. And then facilities, we have a master planning committee, and that actually moves us into the board goals. So any questions about any one of the 4 2014-15 key performance objectives?
I've got one.
Sure.
On KPO 1,
Yeah.
what, on the assessments that are developed to measure progress, how do you see, the state one versus our internal? Do you feel going forward the uncertainty?
With Badger
Right.
assessment?
I mean, how does that affect that goal now or in the future if there's uncertainty on from the WKC or the Badger?
To what's next, whether
Yeah,
it's the Aspire or MAPS or...
Thoughts on that or on that?
Well, each of those assessments were designed to measure standards. So they do have validity. It's just that the standard score or what, the specific, testing institution that created the test is different. But we will still look at the data as very important to us. It will give us some information. It's just that it kind of goofs up our longitudinal data to look at it over time. The state did indicate that they will not be providing a school report card next year because of the change from Badger to whatever that assessment will be. But we will still analyze the Badger assessment and look at how our students did on that assessment. It was much more performance-based than the WKCE was, so very much.
Yeah, so I guess going forward then, when we look at, we won't have that DPI, right, to measure those specific elements, so we'll have to get that internally. Is that what you're saying?
Well, we still the information, I believe, will still be on WiseDash, so we'll still be able to get comparables. How did our students do in comparison to
so
others?
for the reading part, not necessarily the Badger exam?
The Badger exam will be able to still analyze how our students did in comparison to other students. It just won't be a report card. It will just be data
Okay, so they won't.
on WiseDash.
So won't summarize it into
Right.
rating.
Exactly.
The data will be there for us to use our. Okay, good.
Exactly.
But
Okay. Any other questions on performance? Okay, so then we have 3 board goals. The first one was on responsible resource stewardship, and that's very much aligned with our the board providing a charge to a 36-member committee, master planning committee, to study the facility needs of both Test Corners and Muskego Elementary, our 2 oldest buildings, 90 years old, but also to study the possible enhancements to some athletic and co-curricular facilities at the high school, and study any other district facility maintenance or capital needs. And so that process has been underway since November of 2014. We've met 10 times as a citizen group, 36 members plus our administration and some teaching staff as well, and board members came every once in a while as well. The board will be reviewing some recommendations that that master planning committee brought forward to them at the end of April this week, and also we'll be reviewing a possible community survey that's been drafted by a subcommittee of the MPC. And so if, looking at long-term as far as the possibility of having a possible referendum in August of 2016, we may be looking at surveying our community for their readiness and interest in a possible referendum sometime in September. Any questions about this one? So we're still working on this. This will continue, our work on that facilities planning. Board development, this was looking at actually, Tony mentioned Studer, the evidence-based leadership. We have a partnership with them. This year was the first year, but also the board met with them last summer to get a little precursor of what the eye and the goal could look like and some of the pillars, as well as the approach of having key result measures and progress monitoring in a little different way than we've been doing it. And so we've been working with them since summer of 2014, and the board did have an introductory to that. The second part of this goal was to look at the Wisconsin Center of Performance Excellence to determine whether or not we were in a good position to, and if it worked for our system to look for feedback on our continuous improvement efforts from WSA, Wisconsin Board Award. And so we did have our category teams review over the year. I gave a couple of updates to the board, answered questions about that process. All of the categories, all 6 of them, indicated that we are ready. We have made some great gains in some of those, in each of the 6 categories, and could be in a good position to request feedback. Depending on the other initiatives that we have going on, we'll determine whether or not the capacity is there next year or if we'll wait a year. But we will be working on it. It's just depending on what will the actual submission date be. Any questions about that? Okay, moving up this big mountain, we have board goal number 3, and this was the Neola policy. This was actually a second year in board governance. Interest of us trying to figure out what type of board governance we wanted, and then reviewing all of our policies. So between February and August of 2014, district administration met multiple times and actually reviewed and rewrote every policy and added policies also. And then between September and January of this current year, administration worked with the board to further review and rewrite those policies. And then in January 2015, the board did approve those policies, and then between February and May of we just finished of 2015, district administration met to work on the administrative guidelines. And so those will be coming to the board beginning sometime in the next couple of months. Let's see, really gets those. Any questions about board governance? Okay, so obviously our goal is to be the district, our vision is to be the district of choice. We have 2020 visions of being a top 3 district for student learning, being a destination workplace, having high quality innovative practices, and strategic allocation of our resources. So this was the year in review just from a practices kind of perspective of objectives. We'll be reviewing our actual goals, our student goals, and other goals with the board. Okay, any questions? All right, and the third item I have is actually, we have a department performance objective for this year of having at least 3 videos, district videos. And we'll actually have 4. So if you come to the June 11th, you'll see the little part from the from our board celebration. If you remember doing that, we looked up the cards and moving the cards around to make a sentence make sense. That's our 4th, but this is our 3rd, and this is love what you do, know that it matters, and make a difference. And so this video is about 6 minutes long, and it will be posted on our website very shortly. This is good for you and the community to.
Muskegon Always Schools is a place where we love what we do, we believe that it matters, and we strive to make a difference for those we serve. We bring our mission of every student learning, growing, and succeeding to life each day as we continue to strive to reach our vision of being the district of choice.
One of the best things I love about my job as a principal is you truly have the best of both worlds. I love in the morning when I come into work and I get to work with an amazing staff who are dedicated to their job and the things that you need to accomplish here in Muskegon Norwood Schools. And on the other hand, I love the fact that I get to see those bright, bubbly faces. The students, as they pour through the doors, are just eager to learn, and they are excited for all that the world has to offer them. And that's what we offer here in Muskegon.
One thing I love about my job is coming to work each day, and we're doing a great custodial staff. The best thing I can do to inspire my team is to empower them to do their job to the best of their ability, and then recognize them for it. Knowing that there are so many issues that come up throughout the school day and school year, I think it's really successful when there is an issue and nobody else knows about it. Students, teachers, and staff, everybody goes on life as usual while we deal with a problem in the background. And that's kind of the nature of our work, and I really do appreciate that part of my job.
I'm inspired to come to work every day because I really believe in this district. My children are grown now, but they both went through the district, elementary through high school. And as a parent, I was so impressed with the level of commitment that the staff had to the students, with the sense of inclusion that the school had, and how they nurtured my children, not just educationally, but socially and emotionally. So I was always really impressed by that. And I'm inspired to come and work with the district because it helps me carry on that tradition, and I can help make sure other children get the same benefits that my children got from the district.
I love that I work with some of the most dedicated, hardworking professionals that a school district could have. And I'm very proud to be part of the Muskegon Norway School District. And what brings me to work every day is the thought that I can make a difference in someone's life.
So what really inspires me when I'm teaching with the student is when I see a student and they finally make that connection and have that aha moment. I think the district does a really good job of bringing in the academic knowledge into the students and putting it into hands-on experiences where they go into the classroom and learn it, but then they're also able to go into labs and do hands-on activities. I think it really benefits the students.
There are many things that inspire me about this job. I just received an email a couple of weeks ago from a former student, a graduate who's at UW-Madison, and wanted to let me know she got a 96% on her Spanish essay. It's those types of things that inspire me to keep doing this day to day, even when it gets tough. It's the big things and the little things with my colleagues. So we're all looking out for each other, taking care of each other, and I don't think I could do this job without them.
I like going to Muskegon Norway Schools because the teachers here, they give me a really good explanation and answer to help me understand what I need to learn. School is awesome because my teacher, she helps me and makes us work hard. And when we don't do our best, she'll help because she wants us to know it.
I really love school because I like to participate in musical, track and field, soccer, and student council.
I like how the teachers encourage you to do better, and I like how they try to teach us different strategies to figure out the same problems. So the teachers are really fun because we get to go on field trips, recognition day, and they even coach me in basketball.
I love school because I like how much my teachers help me.
Practicing math facts here is fun, and at the end of the year, our teacher helps us celebrate an ice cream sundae party.
I like school because I like to multiply and divide numbers in math. I love reading and writing, and I know how to read books when I grow up. I love to go to school at Muskegon Norway.
I would say that all of the teachers at Muskegon Norway School District, the aides, coaches, they were all very helpful to me. They always had my best interest at heart, whether it be educationally or personally. I remember in my senior year, they really pushed me to pick a career that I was interested in and made me research a lot about it, and I found out that that was what I actually ended up doing in the end. So they just always took the time to really be helpful. Thank you very much to Muskegon Norway School District for making me college ready and making learning fun.
One of the big differences from Muskegon is that they offer several AP courses, which helped me get about 12 credits for college. Also, when I was a junior and senior, I did a couple of business courses that helped me kind of guide my career path once I got to school to get a degree in business and then land my job here. At times, the staff were really able to help me out quite a bit, whether it was helping me out during class or allowing me to come in afterwards, work on task quizzes that I maybe need a little bit more help on. They're also able to help push me at times when I maybe wasn't performing to my fullest capabilities, hold me accountable in that regard as well, and at times keep me focused. Thank you for providing me with an excellent education, giving me the chance to go to a good college, graduate from a good school, land a good job, start a successful career, and also providing me some of the better memories of my life.
So I went through from kindergarten all the way to senior year, and the entire staff of this district as a whole is what shaped us. And I honestly think like my elementary school teachers shaped me more as a person because they taught me more about, kindness and selflessness and that sort of thing. I think we're really lucky that the staff does work together towards an end product goal, and that they all have our teachers and our best interest in mind. And that starts from a young age and from the very beginning. Thank you, Muskegon Norway Schools, for giving me myself and for making me a beneficial adult.
Wow.
Tony?
Made it so fun.
The
So
bandwidth demand I was talking about, it's going on.
a huge thank you goes to our team, and Tony mentioned them earlier. Just a tremendous group of individuals who really helped shape this and then went out and got the real and
All the footage, yes.
all of it and put it all together. So it's really great working with them on this project. Okay.
That was good video. That was
Okay. All right. June 11th, just a reminder that you're all invited to attend. And as I stated earlier, we will roll out our 4th video on that day, which is really about celebrations, and it's quite fun. My last 2 things I just wanted to mention, on June 15th, I will actually be in La Crosse, so Julie will be sitting here. We wanted to have Gary, but he declined the invitation. So Julie will be running the June 15th.
Actually, for the record's sake.
And a reminder that our Wednesday meeting this week is at the high school in room 243. So that concludes the superintendent's report. Thank you.
Thank you. Board member reports. Chris.
I want to thank the teams, the destination imagination teams at Test Corners, Eagle Elementary, and Bay Lane for their outstanding performance in at University of Tennessee in Knoxville this past week. So congratulations to each team. They placed very well in the global final.
Any other board member reports? All right. Committee reports?
Yes. Business services met this evening. Excuse me, there were various board members in attendance, and we had 2 items on our agenda. One is the Lake Dunoon playground equipment purchase, and Principal Linda O'Brien included both a memo to the board and a PDF of pretty much what the playground would look like. It will come back to the board. There really weren't too many questions. This is something that they've been considering for a while. I thought 2 things of interest were that 7th and 8th graders were invited to look at the proposal of the playground and were enthusiastic about it. It's more, as she explained, a fitness playground. So not necessarily geared, just to elementary students, because of course we're looking at a middle school placement here. And the PTO at Lake Dunoon has a substantial contribution here of about $25,000. So that will come back. And then the second item that was on our agenda was Fund 80. There's quite a the explanation within the administrative content. So I think we were all here for that discussion. So it's going to come back the next time for discussion. We have time until there would be action on it, because anything would have to happen by July 31st or a little bit before that to get it to DPI. And we encouraged as a board that the next time we discuss this, that at least Mr. Genau should be here and perhaps Mr. Warner. It all has to do with movement from Fund 80 to a different fund, and then the dissipation of those funds. And that was it for business services.
Thank you. Public forum. Would anybody like to address the school board? Okay. Hearing none, we'll go on to resolution and action items. If any of the students didn't sign in, on the attendance is on the corner of next to Dar. I know you'll probably be leaving shortly. Did anybody recognize anybody on the video? Yeah. Good job. Resolution action items. Bay Lane Associate Principal.
Motion to approve Ms. Rachel Radusky as Associate Principal of Bay Lane Middle School beginning July 1st, 2015, as discussed in closed session.
Second.
Any discussion?
Gary?
So we're very excited to introduce Ms. Rachel Wazowski to the board and to the community. Rachel's taught for 8 years in 7th grade in English language arts, which fits in perfectly with our focus in the district on increasing reading, student achievement, and growth. She also currently is a school-wide change facilitator. Essentially, she works closely with staff on instructional best practices. She also will serve as the co-principal of our Summer Learning Academy here in Muskegon, Norway. So after each of the interviews, we have the panel share some of the strengths from the candidates. There were many, many strengths identified for Rachel. One of them in particular, though, that I'd like to highlight for the board and the community is a quote from a panel member. And again, on the interview panel were parents and staff from Baylane. And it's a quote that I think exemplifies who Rachel is as a person and as an educator. I'll insert the dramatic pause here. Okay, now that's enough, good. Any longer would be awkward. So they said about Rachel, she is relentless in the pursuit of excellence. And I think that exemplifies exactly who Rachel is. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce to the community and the board, Ms. Rachel Wazowski.
Hello again. It's an honor to be invited to be part of the Muskegon Norway School District. I've heard a lot of great things about Dawn and been able to connect with her a little bit, but I'm really excited to work with her and learn from her leadership and meet the rest of the staff. I think working with middle school students is a privilege, and so I'm especially excited to meet the students and their families and get started.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel.
All those in favor of the appointment signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Welcome.
Congratulations, Rachel.
Action item, Lakeview Principal.
Motion to approve Mrs. Allison Eisch as Lakeview Elementary Principal beginning July 1st, 2015 as discussed in closed session.
So moved. Second.
So we are equally excited to introduce Allison as the Lakeview principal. I'd like to share a few things about Allison before we ask her to step up to the microphone. She's currently serving as an elementary principal in a nearby district. She previously has served as a director of pupil services for 2 years and as a 4th grade teacher for 7 years. She also has been focused very much on increasing reading, student achievement, and growth, and so that very much aligns with the work that Lakeview has been involved in, as well as the work that our system has been involved with in the last couple of years. She really believes very strongly in the importance of building strong relationships with all stakeholders, students, staff, and parents, and providing targeted feedback to teachers to help them improve their instruction. She smiles a lot. She's doing it right now. And again, many, many strengths as identified by the panel. One that I wanted to highlight for the community and the board was we like her shoes. Just kidding, I made that up. It's quite clear that Allison believes in the importance of frequently reviewing student achievement data, making that data meaningful for teachers, drilling down to individual student levels with when reviewing achievement data, and ensuring that the data review impacts instruction in the classroom. So I'm very pleased to introduce to the community and reintroduce to the board Mrs. Allison Eisch as Lakeview Principal. Please step up.
Hi. So I haven't stopped smiling since Gary called me, because I do smile a lot. I think relationships are really important, and I'm really excited to meet the staff tomorrow, meet the leadership team tomorrow, and start building those relationships with everybody. I always joke when you're in an interview that, you know, you say all the right things, but then it's so exciting to prove to people that that's who you really are, and that you are that hard worker that's ready to jump in. And so I'm really excited to be here, as you can tell. I'm still smiling, and I just can't wait to get started. So I'm feeling very, very lucky and blessed to be invited to be a part of your district.
Congratulations.
Welcome aboard.
Thanks, Allison.
All those in favor of the resolution signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Welcome. Action item, Muskego High School Associate Principal.
Motion to approve Mrs. Christine Bowden as Muskego High School Associate Principal beginning July 1st, 2015, as discussed in closed session.
Second.
So to round out the trifecta, I'm very excited to introduce Mrs. Christine Bowden as high school AP. Mrs. Bowden has served in various capacities in Muskego, Norway for the past 15 years. She's been a special education teacher at Country Meadows, a district-wide support person, a special educator at the high school, a special ed department chair, and then most recently she served as an interim associate principal at the high school, and she has exceeded our expectations in all roles, including and especially that most recent one as the interim associate principal. Many strengths that the interview panel shared specific to Mrs. Bowden. One in particular was her passion for supporting individual student needs, which is unquestionable. And in my experiences serving as principal at Country Meadows, time and time again, Mrs. Bowden went above and beyond to support individual students. So we're excited to have her in that role doing the same thing for high school students and families. In the spirit of quoting from the interview panel, just because I've done that last couple of candidates, I would like to quote Mrs. Bowden from the interview itself, and she said, and I quote, "I'd like to thank Mr. Gels for his ongoing support of me as I've grown as an educator and a leader, as I aspire to be just like him. He's amazing." She didn't say that, but that's really sweet if you would have thought it. So I am done humoring myself, and I'd really, again, genuinely, sincerely excited to introduce Mrs. Christine Bowden as the high school associate principal. Would you please step up?
So as Gary was saying, and most of you know, I've been in the district since 2000. I'm very excited to continue my leadership journey in the Muskego School District. I have great dedication and purpose in leadership in Muskego, and I'm just really excited to stay and become associate principal next year. So I look forward to working with all of you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All those in favor of the resolution indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Welcome, sort of. Already here. Thank you. Action item, donations.
Motion to accept with thanks the donation of $1,000 to Lake Noon Elementary School from Outsource America, Inc., Lake Noon Middle School.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We now have discussion items, which will be lengthy. So you're more than welcome to depart or stay if you'd like. Thanks for staying a little bit extra, Mr. Steve. Because I think you came in a few minutes late, didn't you?
Yeah.
Okay, discussion item number 1 is the 2015-16 budget.
Ready to go? Okay, so I just included two different things in the 2015-16 budget information. The food service information was added a little bit late, but I wanted to have the conversation around food service, looking into what next year is going to look like. But first, just so you are aware, the Joint Finance Committee did pass a motion to include the $150 per pupil cut to schools to be added back to the biennial budget in the first year. By restoring that $150 per pupil cut or reduction, we wouldn't have to cut the $700,000 that we thought we would, in addition to the 1.2 that we originally had to cut. So it does have to go to the House and Senate, but hopefully that gets written into the budget, and we have $700,000 less reductions to bring forward to you. So that's a positive.
As far as the food service information goes, I did include a letter from Taher, who is our food service consultant, as well as a proposed budget. Just wanted to talk a little bit about food service fees for the upcoming year. We haven't increased our food service fees in a couple of years. It is recommended by Taher that we do look to increase our fees by about 10 cents per meal for elementary and middle school. And a couple of reasons for this. First of all, we have, with our food service program right now and the legislation that's in place for the elementary and middle schools, what we found and what we sort of anticipated was that we are actually losing money on the elementary and middle school level. The number of meals that we're serving on a daily basis is about $345 less per day than we did last year. And so, and again, those are those new regulations that went into place in which we opted out at the high school of food service program, so we wouldn't have to follow those stringent rules, again, keeping healthy meals in front of students. So that's one of the reasons we're looking at a 10-cent increase. Also, it is likely that we're up for an audit for next year. And we did talk about there's this equity and meal pricing calculator, and there's basically a regulation that says that we have to continue to increase our food service pricing to get to the level at which the federal government sets. And we are below that, so we should be doing small increments to increase. We haven't done it in a number of years, and if we don't comply, we would have to potentially give back federal funding through that audit process. And so I just wanted to bring that to your attention. We will be bringing back detail of where we're at this year with how things are turning out with the high school opting out of the food service or the federal program, as well as kind of as a whole where the food service budget is looking. And that will come back on the 15th for more discussion. At that time, though, we would ask that we consider, that the board consider the 10-cent increase on elementary and middle school fees. That would move elementary paid lunch fees from $2.15 to $2.25 and middle school $2.55 to $2.65. Any questions?
Just include this 2-page letter next meeting.
Absolutely. Yep, I'll put both of those items back in, plus additional information that I'm working with Taher on with specific numbers for the revenues and expenses for the program.
Are you going to have, when on the 15th, you'll have this letter, and you're going to separate, or are you, I guess so, you're not interested. So
Sure.
There's the elementary and the middle school, right? And then the high school, you said that you're going to separate that, right? Are you going to have any analytics, what if we did opt out?
At the middle school level?
Right.
Or, okay.
Like what that would have, say we opted out 2 years ago or last year, what that would have looked like, if we can
Sure.
forecast that, or
So to look backwards would be a little difficult only because the laws really changed this current year, so there wasn't as stringent of regulations, so there was a lot more participation just because the food that we were offering through the federal program could still, not everything had to be whole grain, not everything had to be, so specific with how much fresh fruits and veggies we were offering. The meals this year have to look different.
so they've gotten stricter.
They've gotten stricter this year. And so if we would have opted out last year with the middle and elementary, I don't know that we would have had as much success. But I can talk with Taher and we can help. I think moving forward, though, we would look to make a recommendation one way or another with running some analytics about the middle school. I don't know that we'd opt out at elementary because elementary is not used to an a la carte fashion. And so I think it would just be at the middle school level. And we'll bring that back on the 15th as well. Mm-hmm.
Anything else on the budget?
The only thing on the budget itself.
Sure.
When you come back, I got this email, I've got notes on it. I'm going to send you an email. I just wanted to, you're going to come back with $700,000 left. I assume that cuts from what we talked about.
Essentially tier 2.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right.
So just another column explaining, the risk and impact. What's the
why we
impact
chose
of not,
what we
right?
chose. Oh.
Yeah, I'm just curious on what the risk and impact is.
We can bring back the
Yeah.
tiered document with just the explanation.
Help me, and then creating tons of email conversations.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure, not a problem.
Thank you.
Anything else on the budget? Do you have anything else, Julie?
That's all I have for budget.
Let's go on to discussion item B, self-funding health insurance premium rates.
Okay. In the packet, I did include a document for you because we are moving to a self-funded health insurance plan and we are switching carriers effective September 1st. We are going to ask the board to actually approve our premium rates. Usually we would just bring back a renewal from the carrier, but because we are self-funded, essentially we are the carrier and we have to establish what those rates are going to be moving forward so we can begin those deductions for staff and moving that money into an account to pay for all of the medical costs. And so what was included in the breakdown, again, with the Anthem plan, we have two different options for staff as far as health insurance. One is the Blue Preferred and one is the Blue Priority. Again, with that priority network, Anthem is offering a substantially less costly premium because the network is narrowed and they've worked out some really good discounts with like Children's Hospital and Aurora and I forget the other one now, ProHealth. ProHealth is the other one. And so these are the rates, and when working with Hayes and their actuaries, they've determined that these are the rates that we would need to charge to support the cost of a self-funded health insurance program. The single and the family are listed there for active and also for retirees who are under the age of 65. Right underneath that is the Medicare with RX. So there are people that retire from the district that get health insurance. They're of Medicare age, and they have a drug card as part of the plan. So those are the rates. The one over means there's one person over 65, two over both are, and one over, one under, one over 65, one under 65. And then the second tier of that is Medicare without prescription. So we do have retirees that take our Medicare plan, or take our plan to supplement Medicare, but they don't include the drug card, and so those rates are obviously less without the drug card. So on the 15th, we would be bringing back these rates for your approval.
Can you also bring back the rates, the current rates,
Absolutely.
so that we have something to compare?
Mm-hmm.
What's the current deductible for single and family?
$500 for single, $1,000 for family.
And that's not changing?
Correct. The deductible is not changing.
Any other questions on self-funding or requests? Anything else, Julie?
That's it for me.
Okay. I'll go on to C, discussion items, on-site clinic update.
Sorry, I decided to put everything on one board agenda and get it done with. So we had talked at maybe the last board meeting about the on-site clinic here at the district, and we're looking at different options to be able to put a clinic in place. We looked at leasing options throughout Muskego, and unfortunately leasing space in the district is very expensive. So much so that it would almost be better if we were to purchase a building, a small building, and put something up. We also looked at the option of converting part of the warehouse. So if you think about the way that this building is set, the back of this building is actually a warehouse, and it does have a separate entrance, like facing the tennis courts. And so we looked at the option to do like a two-room healthcare clinic right in the back, convert that space, and we did have one vendor come in just to give us pricing. The pricing came back, and again, this is creating HVAC, it's restructuring a majority of that warehouse. It's also moving water so that we can provide bathroom facilities within the clinic, maintaining that separate entrance. The total cost was estimated to be about $146,000. Again, Anthem, because we are moving with them this year, is going to provide us with $80,000 for the cost of the build of that clinic. And so that would leave the difference for the district. And we're bringing this forward today to ask for your input because I know that there was some concern that the warehouse would not be a sufficient space. But right now it is looking kind of as our only opportunity if we wanted to move forward this year. If you are interested or you do think that that space is something that we could look to convert, we would go back and obviously get two more bids from various construction companies. But this was just to give you an estimate on the pricing.
Who provides the furniture?
I don't think that was included here. That would be us. And there is very little furniture that goes into, and I'm just looking, so they are including base cabinets and countertops, carpet. The only thing that we would be providing is the technology.
Waiting room, chairs,
A small waiting room with probably 2 chairs, the
medical
tables. Medical tables.
So could we maybe work on an estimate for that between now and 2 weeks from now? Kind of a open door pricing, and do we have any discussion with any larger employers in the community?
We have a meeting set for next week.
Okay.
And we also, we did talk with the city as well and look for possibility of utilizing space there. Again, there would be renovations required within their building, and so if we're going to renovate and put money into a building, we're thinking it should be one of our buildings.
Do we have any discussions with neighboring districts?
We have had 2 discussions with New Berlin and McGuanago, both of which are not at the point that they're ready to move forward with the clinic. They would be within the next year. We do have, when we went out for bid for the third-party vendor that would assist us with the clinic itself, all vendors were open to us adding in the future. So if we wanted to add districts in to help share the cost, we could do that. And I think both would be interested, but probably not until next spring or next fall.
What's the warehouse being utilized for now?
Storage.
So where
Some
are we
storage.
With that stuff?
So one of the alternative bids that was brought in with this scope of work was to actually create like a vestibule area on top of the clinic that we could utilize as storage space. A lot of the stuff that's in there right now doesn't have to be there. It's just there because we haven't really sifted through it. We've gone through it, cleaned out a lot, but there's a lot of paperwork there that we're working on getting scanned and put, held electronically. So there would be space, and Jeremiah was part of that conversation to determine if we have enough space back there.
That quote for $27,000 to create storage above, would that be the same if we were to build a clinic and then decide later, oh, we need some storage above, or is that going to be significantly higher?
No, I believe that was whether we do it now or later, because it's just railings, it's some safety things that need to be put up too. But for the most part, I think that can happen at any time.
That'll make a difference whether you do it now or later.
Right.
How much room would that be above the? I mean, what's the ceiling height in there right now? About 20 feet. So if you do 10 feet, you still have about 10 feet of storage.
Yes.
You did math on TV.
It was simple.
Carry the one.
I just wouldn't want it to be a height where you have to go wrong.
No, it wouldn't be. In fact, it might even be a little more than that. I don't know. It's pretty tall back there. I don't know. It seems really tall to me because I'm extremely short.
Perspective.
Right. Okay, so I'll bring back, cost of the furniture. And actually, that we have that. It's part of the proposals that came back from the third-party vendors in the original, not the build-out of the structure, but the actual furniture and technology required. That was all part of that initial cost. So we talked about it costing about $350,000 the first year to run the clinic. $30,000 of that was built out. So actually, $30,000 is the cost of all of that. But I'll bring back those proposals as well as. But I guess my question is there support for us to call in other vendors to have proposals written up for that space, or should we continue to look at other spaces?
Well, I guess I'd see how the next 2 weeks go, but the problem with having it here is, I mean, it's good in a way because it's serving our employees, but if we ever look to expand with maybe New Berlin or McGuanago, they're not going to want to come here.
Right. Part of the conversation is that they could actually provide a clinic within their own schools. We would share the cost of the staffing, and so it would be a matter of timing of when those staff members were here. But we would also be able to set it up through each of the 2 vendors that we're still looking at to support the clinic, that our staff members, if it is a night or on the weekends and they live in New Berlin, could go to those clinics as well. So it would be, we would just have the right software set up to be able to charge to the right school district.
I guess the only, other than the city, I guess I'm still interested to see if a larger business in our city, similar to Impro, has any interest in sharing.
Okay.
We have a lunch meeting on Monday.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll have more information by the 15th, I'm sure.
As far as the space, if we're gonna, you know the space of the district better than I would.
Yes.
If you think that's the best spot for it, I'm gonna defer to that. I would personally, I'd rather build it in one of our own buildings rather than leasing something out in the community. But that's just me.
How imperative is it to have that clinic? Because you're planning on having that clinic ready for September 1st.
October, November.
Okay. How important is that?
It's not going to break or make or break the health insurance costs at this point. It will help to bring down costs in the future as we get more utilization of the clinic. But if you're thinking as part of like the planning process with MPC.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I mean, if we are going to do some building and renovating at the high school already, it'd probably be a lot better place than putting it in this warehouse.
Timing.
It is timing, I know.
Yeah, we'd have to have some place for at least a couple of years.
Well, no, not necessarily.
Or
I
you
mean,
just delay
you
that.
just delay
Delay it. But then we don't get that cost savings for that. I think that's one of the key components.
With going self-funding.
Unless we got some place where we didn't have to do a lot of changing.
Something to think about.
Okay.
Any other questions or requests on on-site clinic update? Everything else, Julie?
Not for this topic.
Okay. Insurance, we'll go on to discussion item D, insurance renewals.
Okay, so included in board docs is a renewal document that lays out the various insurance renewals outside of health insurance. So this includes our property, our automobile, equipment, crime, liability, and the list is there for you. Last year we actually went to market for all of these, and so this year we were just looking for renewals. The only one that we did go out to market on was property insurance, and that's because of the changes that are likely going to be happening at the state level with the local government property insurance fund, which is who we insure all of our property through. It is in the budget that the property fund could immediately go away, could gradually go away. It's very financially unstable. The insurance fund built up a significant balance, and the state started borrowing against some of the funds that were in existence, and they were worried that that was going to happen. So they returned some of the premiums, almost half of what they had balanced, back to all policyholders. That was back in 2010. At that same time, there was the $13 million water issues at, if you remember, Lake Nicolay and Whitefish Bay. They also paid out $6 million in tornado damage and the $19 million courthouse issue. Rates this year are ranging up to 85% of an increase because they do not have the funds to support all of the people they are insuring. So we did go to market, and we did get a rate back from EMC. Their property, and right now our rates at about $60,000 for property. The local government property insurance fund is looking to renew at about $140,000, which is a significant increase for us. M3, who represents EMC, came back with about a $71,000 rate change, and that's just because the private sector costs for property insurance are just very different than what the property insurance fund would provide to us, and so they're always going to be higher. We are working to adjust that number slightly because we do anticipate our property, the values of our contents and property increasing, and so I just want to make sure that if we do have an increase, we take on part of that increased cost this year and part next year and not have the whole thing happen next year. So on June 15th, that number may be slightly different. Liability is increasing slightly. We have a couple things going on the liability side from a district perspective. The one thing I do want to show is the workers' comp, and we had talked about the benefits of the safety program that's been put in place by Jeremiah, and really done some really great things here at the district. Our workers' compensation mod factor, which determines our rates, has gone down significantly, and so you'll notice that our rates went from $322,000 this year, and it's the renewal is coming in at $251,000 next year with a $12,000 anticipated dividend. So you'll see a significant savings in that component of the insurance. So that's just an update. We'll bring back final numbers for you by the 15th for renewal.
Questions or requests?
It's really encouraging to see that workers' comp really drop. That's terrific.
So we're kind of picking between Gallagher and M3, whichever is the best way. And neither one is offering a big discount to go totally with them, or it's...
The one thing that we are looking at, the workers' compensation costs, regardless of who we go with, are set by the state, and so those will remain the same. What I am looking at right now is the EMC versus Gallagher and the benefits that they can provide to us as brokers for United Heartland. United Heartland is our workers' compensation carrier, but they can be represented by either company. And so we're looking at the benefits and what supports we would get from both companies. We may change based on that information, and I'll have that by the 15th as well. It is recommended that we stick with the equipment breakdown from Gallagher as well as the crime, but those would be the only two. Everything else would remain with EMC.
Any other questions? Julie, anything else?
That's it. Yes.
Okay, we'll go on to discussion item E, handbook revisions.
My last item, handbook revision. So attached is the handbook. What I did was I put in a PDF, and all I did was make adjustments to what we were looking to modify. I don't know that you want me to go through everything, but I could point out just a couple highlights. We'll be bringing it back on the 15th anyway for approval, so it'll give you more time to look over it. If you go to page 5, we had to make an adjustment to the hospital and surgical insurance. We had it listed in there as 87.4% of the premium that the board would pay. However, with the changes to the health plan with Anthem, because we had to have that, try to steer 60% into that blue priority, some people will be paying 10%, some people will be paying about 13%. So I just changed that to up to 90% of the premium.
I thought they had to pay the 12.6 by law.
No.
Was it? Okay.
That's a recommended rate. If you were on a state plan, then you would have to, but because this is a private carrier, we're not required to.
Okay, thank you.
On the next page, the alternative benefit plan, and this is one of the items in the tier 1 of reduction of the stipend in lieu of health insurance. So this would be reducing the stipend from $6,000 to $4,000, so still keeping it in place, but eliminating the dental in lieu of. So if somebody doesn't take insurance, we wouldn't continue to pay them for not taking the dental insurance. We are self-funding with insurance, and so when you look at the savings associated with it, if somebody is on the district's health plan, or if they have a spouse has insurance, there's really, if they don't need our insurance, even if they choose to take ours, we're just funding ourselves, and if they're not using it, there's really no benefit to that. So, but that is a part of compensation for our staff, and so we want to be aware of that and make sure that we're not just completely eliminating it, but just scaling back as necessary for budget reductions. Just trying to hit the big things. The one change, if you look on page 10, workers' compensation, it is recommended, and we've been working through this, that if somebody is on a workers' compensation, that we are applying their FMLA leave concurrently with workers' compensation. And so that's something we would be recommending as a handbook change. The co-curriculars, we made some adjustments to the language. It's been a little confusing for people to understand how they're getting compensated. And we also refer to the expiring collective bargaining agreement, which has been expired for a number of years. So what we did was just change and put the actual dollar amount that the rate that the co-curricular contracts are based off of in there, and just made some adjustments to that language. So it doesn't change any of the contracts. It was just clarifying the language. We also changed on the co-curriculars, the Odyssey of the Mind is now called Destination Imagination, so we changed that and added stunt. I think that that's a 10% rate, and that's in the middle column right at the bottom, but I'll include that at the next review. Other than that, again, just highlighting some big things. We're just trying to streamline some of the language for sick leave, so we're not changing the amount of leave or what people are eligible for. Everything, as far as emergency and everything, stays the same. We were just trying to streamline some of the language. Same with personal leave. And those are on page 19 and 20. On page 22, the notice to the district for resignation or retirement, that we found that in the handbook where it's written, not that we're changing it, but it's just been lost in there, so we just wanted to make sure that we were.
On that one?
Yes.
It's also on 34.
Yes.
So what's the
difference?
Well, what if I don't, or the employee doesn't give their intent within this time frame? What's the consequence?
So technically, the board could deny their
and what was that?
Right?
Well, what's the event? We tell someone they cannot retire. What does that do?
Well, they could still do it anyway. But what this is really meant for is to help us plan for replacement positions if we know in advance that there is going to be a resignation or retirement. That's really the intent of this.
Okay. To me, it seems like something punitive is going to happen, but in essence, we can't. We don't.
They vested it.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a idle threat, almost like a petty form of intimidation. But that's fine. And then I noticed too, it was on 34. The one question I did have was on, and I just wasn't aware of this on 17.
Yep.
On the additional compensation.
Yes.
I was so, and maybe it's just a learning curve for me. So we have stipends. We have part of our new
compensation model.
Right, that entire compensation model where you have the tiers and and you've got co-curriculars. You've got the weighting, right, the percentage that goes against the base pay. So you also have this. Two, apparently, so I'm unaware that there's overload compensation. Do we use that a lot? Is that common?
It's more common at the high school over than any other. And actually on June 15th, we'll be bringing forward those overload requests from the board. I mean, from the high school.
So
yes.
So those would be examples. Okay.
Yep.
That's awesome. That was my next question. What's an example that if you're going to bring that forward? Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Sure. The other big change is going to be under Appendix B, and this is under support staff. I'm going to go to page 28. And these can be, again, items for discussion, but we're looking at making some adjustments in this area as well, as far as how we're classifying our aides and our AAs. We are looking at just trying to simplify administrative assistant and then the range of pay for those administrative assistants based on years of experience. Right now we are working on the support staff compensation model, and so we'll be bringing back some recommendations on pay for those. But we found that a couple of things get very confusing with aides and how they're classified and if they sub for each other and how much we're paying them. And so we're just trying to streamline instead of having new hire and experience ranges, just to simplify it's one range, and then through the process of looking at what's median and keeping in mind years of experience. If they have any, we would place them within the range upon hire. The other piece is the custodian. We've been looking at some adjustments at this level. What we've found is a lot of the work and the way that it's structured for our custodial staff is there are some custodians who do a lot more cleaning work, and we have some custodians that are doing a lot more custodial and maintenance work because of the skills and abilities. And so we are looking at trying to separate out those different, levels of experience. And so we included in here custodian maintenance as a salary range, again, based on years of experience and qualifications. We have a head custodian rate. We didn't have a groundskeeper or ground specialist, and that language can be modified. We now have somebody to do and maintain our grounds for us, and we've brought a lot of those contracts back in-house. And so we'd like to be able to pay that person at a level. Right now they're paid as a custodian, so it's at a different rate. And when you look at what, some of the duties that this person has, and he is working, or the person that's in place now is working with contracts, we just feel that the range at which he is paid should be at the level of a head custodian. Again, managing budgets and doing, a lot more supervisory work. Facility services, and again, the verbiage can be changed, but that would be, more of the custodial role, but they're only responsible for cleaning. So those are just some recommendations that we're looking to make based on what we've experienced over the last couple of years with Jeremiah and being new into the positions. The only other thing to note on page 33, we have listed our support staff holidays. These are school year employees. They work 180 days. We do pay out 3 holidays for them. Labor Day, because it's right at the start of the year, it's always been a little difficult because there is a requirement they have to work a day before and a day after to get qualified for that pay. So we'd like to just make the adjustments to Good Friday because that would give us some time. And that's it. So the idea would be to, again, probably clean this up and kind of have a final product, have some conversation. If there are any questions or concerns, make modifications, and then we bring it back to you for approval again at the next meeting.
Questions? Anything else? Julie?
No.
Okay. Move to the last discussion item F. Proposed 2015-2016 key performance objectives and board goals.
Alrighty. So the 2015-16 key performance objectives you did see at our last board meeting. So there have been no changes to those 4 items. I'm just waiting for my to come off right now. So we have those up. So similar to, we have the key performance objectives aligned to our 4 core competencies. So under exemplary teaching and learning, increase reading achievement and growth for all students. Under continuous improvement, focusing in on that student goal setting. And highly effective personnel, working toward that sense of well-being, so working with staff on positive, healthy activities. So continuing some of our efforts that we started this year. And under sound stewardship, continuing our facilities focus, as well as the costs for insurances and things like that, to make sure that we're not spending too much on the operations of our organization, and making sure we're streamlining that so that we can put more funds into our educating our students. So those aren't new. Those were the ones that you saw 2 weeks ago. And the board goals, these are proposed, and we'd love to hear your thoughts on it. The first is responsible resource stewardship. So this is the multi-year facilities plan. So whether we go forward with a referendum or we have a long-term plan to address the aging elementary buildings, either way, we would be developing and deploying that plan, and the board would be supporting that effort. The second is board development, and mine came up. Thank you very much. Engage in learning that supports the effective use and fair review of the superintendent's performance evaluation system. So our efforts in going with CSIS 6 DAPES program, that we would look at how that's working for us and making any adjustments and determining whether or not we're going to continue with that by the year's end. And board governance. This is a change. You might recall last week or 2 weeks ago when we talked about our Eye on the Goal process, that we would be conducting biannual reviews of both school and department Eye on the Goal plan. So that's something new for the board. So we would look for your input on monitoring your continuous improvement efforts, as well as the process, how it works to have all of the departments in the schools here to provide you with close out of the previous Eye on the Goal, and then also what's coming next, and sharing all the data as to how we're doing on meeting our goals. So that's the proposal. Any feedback right now on either the KPOs or the board goals? And we'll come back to this again, as I stated, on June 15th for action.
Okay.
No? Okay.
Anything? All right. Information follow-up.
I have two things. Something came up on my end and I can't do graduation. Chris, did you say you wanted to do?
What day is that?
13th.
1:30?
1:30.
Right now.
I'm sorry?
I'm checking right now.
Oh, okay.
I think we had
I thought we had one extra.
I think we might have had one extra. Yeah, but like I said, something came up and I cannot make it.
So who is
Brett.
Eric,
Rick.
Bob, and Rick? So I think we're okay.
Okay.
I think we're okay. But do you want to look on your calendar?
Yeah, I maybe I found it. I'll look.
Okay. Let me know. I'll let you know if we need somebody. But Bob, you have it on your calendar? 1:30. Be at the high school at 12:30. Okay.
And the other thing, I may not be able to make it on Wednesday night.
Okay.
Is there someplace I can go to get the info, and if I'm not able to make it, let's get the skinny of what was discussed?
Sure. I will either send it to you or we can sit down and talk.
Okay.
Okay?
I apologize for that. I didn't have it on my calendar, and I think I have a work conflict.
No problem. To the info.
Thank you.
One quick question for Kelly. When will we be having our annual one-to-one meetings that we can sit down and have with you?
Mm-hmm.
Is that coming up in July?
In July. I'll send you out an email shortly.
I got a busy July.
Okay, sure. Get it out
I want to
early.
get it on the calendar
Okay.
really quickly.
Thanks.
Anything else? All right. Motion to adjourn. Second. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed?
Hi.
We're adjourned at
That's your goal.
A long time.
Yeah, and that's your
Boy,
goal.
Hey, for next team, we gotta beat that.
8:53. Yeah.
whenever I'm sitting here.
You run a good meeting, Eric.
It'll be before.
So can you do that again on the 15th?
She makes it early. I told her she could do it for the rest of the year. Or for the
No.
No.